Hey ladies and gents, welcome to Play It Private, a segment on this channel where we look at the gray area of MMOs known as private servers. I want to give a quick word of warning to my audience. Private servers are hosted by fans like you and me that want to keep a sunsetted MMORPG alive, whether it's because the game is no longer playable or because the game has changed so much that it's no longer the game a certain audience may want to play. Bearing that in mind, a lot of times these type of games can come and go in the blink of an eye due to certain circumstances that are usually out of the fans' control. Play the games in these series with that in mind, but always remember that these games will never die in our hearts. Anyways, let's get on with the video. The Persona series is some of the quirkiest and charming RPGs you can play nowadays on modern consoles. It mixes Japanese pop culture with some really dark themes. Even if you haven't played a Persona game, you've most likely heard of them, especially Persona 5 in the recent years, as it became the best-selling game in the franchise, selling over 4.6 million copies if you include its enhanced re-release. However, you may not know this, but Persona is actually a spin-off of the ironically lesser-known parent franchise named Megami Tensei, or known more often as Shin Megami Tensei in the West. Shin Megami Tensei has an odd translation name. Shin translates to real or true, Megami means female goddess, and finally Tensei meaning reincarnation or rebirth. If you know the stories of the franchise, then this title makes sense since many of the themes within the game cover topics such as the apocalypse, the struggle between law and chaos rather than good versus evil, and the philosophy of mankind. The Shin Megami Tensei franchise has had success here in the West, more so due to the Persona series, but honestly it stands on its own with the great ones such as Final Fantasy and even Dragon Quest. In the West, the mainline games were pretty unknown due to many of its games never being localized. In fact, we in the US never even experienced a true SMT game until the masterpiece known as SMT3 Nocturne hit the PlayStation 2. This set the franchise to be enough of a hit in the West for Atlus to properly start localizing most games within the series from then on. I could go on more into the history of the franchise, but I feel that would be better told in other videos. This video is about a game that was released in the height of the MMORPG genre in the late 2000s, Shin Megami Tensei Imagine, the franchise's foray into the genre of massively multiplayer online role-playing games. Originally, Imagine started as a port of Shin Megami Tensei 9 for the Xbox with online features. Ironically, 9 also being a game within the franchise we in the West never got. Anyways, Imagine released in the West on December 31st, 2008. Of course, since the name Shin Megami Tensei was never really a massive hit in the US, the game was much more popular in Japan, actually becoming one of the more played online games within that region. We MMO gamers in the West were more interested in online games such as World of Warcraft and EverQuest, so unfortunately, Imagine never really made the mark it really should have. However, the game did receive a lot of notable support from various developers and companies that hosted servers and developed the game. SMT Imagine lasted about 6 years in the US, while it lasted around 9 years in Japan. The game boasted a lot of incredible interesting features that were quite innovative for its time, so it was a shame it never became the massive hit it really should have. Well, as many things live on within the heart of fans, SMT Imagine would be a game that fans refuse to let die and be forgotten. Dubbed Shin Megami Tensei Reimagine, a fan-developed private server that is currently playable to this day. Imagine absolutely deserves to be experienced by MMO veterans as well as fans of the SMT franchise. As the first video in this new segment on the channel where we cover notable private servers hosted by diehard fans, let's gear up to bust some demons in Shin Megami Tensei Reimagine.
Shin Megami Tensei Imagine.
Imagine is very much an old-school MMORPG. Character creation is very minimal, having a handful of hairstyles, faces, clothing options, and of course, being able to pick your gender. Once you choose your name, you are greeted with the game's opening, prologue, and storyline. The storyline of Imagine is pretty in-depth, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to my resident expert of Shin Megami Tensei and Jack Frost cosplayer, Macca. Take it away, man.
Hello there, hi, it is I, Macca, from the YouTube channel Macca, a channel themed around SMT and Atlus, though not exclusive to it. I am here to explain to you the plot of Shin Megami Tensei Imagine, because my buddy old pal of mine was like, hey, can you do this? And I was like, sure. And then I proceeded to play Xenosaga Episode 1 for like 3 weeks before starting on it. Sorry about that. Shin Megami Tensei Imagine, like most mainline SMT games, takes place in a post-apocalyptic Tokyo. Taking place in the world of Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2, the world is left in a fusion of cyberpunk, nuclear fallout, and water. Cause spoiler alert, that shit got flooded in the first game like that one time in that one movie, Evan Almighty. During the events of Shin Megami Tensei 1, a human named Stephen Not Hawking accidentally opens a gateway into the Expanse, a world in which various demons live, while trying to invent a teleportation system. You know, like that one famous first-person shooter, Halo Prime. To combat the oncoming demon invasion, Steven sends out a demon summoning program to as many people as he can in the hopes that it may help them survive. This program allows people to communicate with demons, befriend them, turn them into data, and summon them to fight other demons. As for what a demon is, demons are creatures, beings, and even gods from various religions and mythologies from around the world. Though some might just say mythologies. Atheists are so wrong in this franchise. In response to the demon invasion, the United States nukes Japan to stop it. It doesn't work. Jump ahead 30 years, and the rest of the game happens. People are barely surviving thanks to the demon summoning program, and they have started to align themselves with one of two factions, Law and Chaos. Those that follow Law believe that we should return to the Judeo-Christian God Yahweh and give up free will for peace and protection. Those that follow Chaos believe that we should join with Lucifer and embrace utter free will, rejecting the idea of order and allowing people to do whatever they want so long as they have the strength to do it. In other words, authoritarianism versus libertarianism, and this boy has to decide which side is gonna win. Imagine takes place in a world where the protagonist of the first game chooses a third path, one of neutrality, that allows humanity to flourish, though not without internal conflicts. In the 50-year period between SMT 1 and 2, humanity, led by a group known as the Seven Philosophers, has built a second Tower of Babel, known as Shinjuku Babel. Now, if you know how the original Tower of Babel went, you know this isn't gonna go well. The completion of the tower causes a brand new demonic invasion signaled by the appearance of 3 great obelisks that warp the land around them. This leads to humanity being driven underground and constructing a city known as Third Home. Here, your character takes on the role of a demon buster, and it is up to you to explore this world and decide whether to side with the forces of Law, led by Lord Judah, or the forces of Chaos, led by Lord Dokkan, both of whom are a part of the Seven Philosophers. Sorry if this was a little long, but I feel like there are pieces of context from SMT1 that can help better explain the world of Imagine. If you want to see more of my stuff, head on over to my channel after you're done watching this video. I got some more SMT and Atlas-based videos for you to check out, as well as videos about games not even related to them, like Dragon Quest XI, and maybe Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, maybe, depending on when this comes out. Anyway, I'm gonna stop hijacking this video now.
Hee-hoo! What the f*** did you just call me?
So that's the story of Imagine's world in the SMT universe. Obviously, besides the story, Imagine also has its gameplay to lean on, and by God, my friends, does Imagine remind me of the time in MMORPGs where community was everything, making friends, finding party members, actual freaking difficulty in normal content that is not in the endgame. Imagine checks off my list for an immersive game that makes me feel like I'm in a virtual world again, a feeling I have not felt since the days of playing MapleStory and RuneScape in my youth. I found myself playing Imagine for 6 to 8 hours the other night, and just being absolutely determined to meet the goals I had set for myself. Theory crafting my character build, completing quests, fusing demons, leveling up demons, learning all the confusing ass nuances of a 12-year-old game. Everything just seemed to click, and honestly, I've been hooked ever since. Combat in Imagine can be best described as a tab target system, but with systems that can feel reminiscent of the turn-based structure of a single-player SMT game. What do I mean by that though? Well, sure, you can theoretically powerhouse your way through certain enemies by mashing the attack command over and over again. Much like the other mainline SMT games though, this game can actually be quite difficult. Death is very easy to occur if you are not careful in how you approach certain battles, especially when you begin. You see, there is a combat system in Imagine that is similar to Mab Mabinogi, where you need to react to your enemy behavior to succeed. Constantly spamming attack commands can fairly often have enemies countering you with a devastating counterattack that will leave you stunned and vulnerable. Enemies can also defend against your attacks, further slowing you and leaving you open for a powerful rebuttal from the demons you fight. Luckily though, you too have these abilities in your arsenal, further being augmented on the way you fight, whether it be melee, guns, or magic, or a hybrid between all three. As a melee attacker myself, often I need to approach a battle and determine if a monster is waiting to counterattack me or is defending against me, in which I'll need to choose between using a rush command, which can break defense, or a spin command, which can break a counterattack. Ranged combat using guns or magic typically will be less likely to be countered, but you have limited resources such as ammo or magic points to worry about. Now I can admit the combat can feel clunky at times, especially as a melee fighter, but it does quickly grow on you. Other features that set Imagine apart from other MMOs that were out at the time is its class system through expertise, as well as the main feature in the SMT games, the demons. Expertise in Imagine is a system in which you choose specific skills to upgrade that will determine how well you perform those actions, whether they are combat or non. Expertise that improve your attack, gun handling, destruction magic, curative magic, buff magic, curse magic, crafting professions, demon negotiation, and demon fusions are just a few that you can choose from. Raising the levels in your expertise unlock abilities to use that pertain to that specific skill, like new gun abilities or new magic spells. Specifically, raising a select few can also unlock something called a chain expertise, which is typically what will determine your class or focus. For instance, I play a build called Regal Presence. To unlock that expertise, I needed to raise my attack, weapon knowledge, and survival skills. I use my build to specifically raise damage with blunt weapons and axes to stack damage buffs, making my attack command deal much more damage at the cost of sacrificing other things such as defense. The main draw for the SMT fans though will be the demons that you can recruit as allies. Almost every single demon you encounter can be recruited as an ally to fight beside you using the negotiation techniques. Typically demons will spout useless nonsense at you or even attack you, but keep at it and eventually they will join your side. You can also fuse demons together to create new powerful ones and even digitize with them to further augment your character with higher stats and abilities. There is just so much to this game's customization and gameplay, it was pretty well ahead of its time, and honestly, to be fair, there isn't many games that I can think of that even get close to this level of depth. The graphics for Imagine also hold up very well, having that distinct art style by Kazuma Kaneko. Music is also a freaking smash hit. I mean, listen to some of these tracks. There is a lot more I can cover here, but honestly, I think it's best that a player learns on their own, like the alignment system or progression past leveling up. Unfortunately, since this is an unofficial private server, the game isn't fully translated yet and has technically been in beta for some years now. The game is constantly releasing translation patches, but much of the game will still have Japanese text that can confuse some players. Because of this, and honestly its dated design, Imagine has a pretty steep learning curve, but if you stick with it, you will definitely find a really special game that has a die-hard community. When I was playing, I found that the population is actually pretty decent for such a niche title. The Discord alone has some really friendly people that are willing to help new players, so it's definitely a community you should join if you plan to play. Shoot, one of the best parts of the game is that it's completely free to play. The developers are also requesting help from the community to translate the sections of the game that are still in Japanese, so if you want to help translate the game, please, I implore you to join the community. I'm really glad I finally sat down and got to talk about this game on the channel. Down below, I'm going to provide some extra sites such as the wiki and YouTube channels that can help new players get started. I also want to say thanks for everyone who watched this video and watches my content. If you want to support my channel, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. You should also subscribe to my good friend Macca. He absolutely makes some stellar content on his YouTube channel, so if anything, please go support him. I also have my social media sites in the description below, and as always, ladies and gents, I will see you in the next video. Later!